Hello, in this video we're going to see about .NET Framework versions up to the latest versions available in .NET Framework. These are the list of versions available in .NET Framework starting from 1.0 to 4.8. In this each version of framework there is some update is been upgraded by the Microsoft team. Let us see what are the updates updated in each version of the .NET Framework. In .NET Framework 1.0, CLR 1.0 is introduced. In .NET Framework 1.1, ASP.NET Mobile controls side-by-side execution, IPv6 support, CLR 1.1 and Visual Studio 2003 is been introduced. So these are the upgrades been updated in next version of Framework 1.1. In .NET Framework 2.0, generics, debugger edit and continue, improved scalability and performance, click once deployment. In ASP.NET 2.0, new controls and support for broad array of browsers, 64-bit support, CLR 2.0 and Visual Studio 2005 has been introduced. In .NET Framework 3.0, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, Windows Code Space and CLR 2.0 has been introduced. In .NET Framework 3.5, LINQ, Expression Trees, improved ASP.NET support for Ajax development, asset collections, daytime offset, WCF and WF integration, peer-to-peer networking, add-ins for extensibility, CLR 2.0 and Visual Studio 2008 is been introduced. In .NET Framework 4.0, application compatibility and deployment, core new features and improvements, managed extensibility framework, parallel computing, networking, web, client, data, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Workflows Foundation, CLR 4.0 and Visual Studio 2010 has been introduced. Here you can see Windows Communication Foundation and Windows Workflow Foundation is already existing. There is some upgrades which has been done in Framework 4.0. These are the not new added features. This is just an upgrade of the features. In .NET Framework 4.5, base classes, managed extensibility. In .NET Framework 4.5, base classes, managed extensibility framework, asynchronous file operations, tools, parallel computing, web, networking, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, portable class libraries, CLR 4.0, Visual Studio 2012 has been introduced, as well as for some of the features, a new upgrade has been upgraded in this existing features. In .NET Framework 4.5.1, enable and disable automatic binding redirection, ability to collect diagnostics information to help developers improve the performance of server and cloud applications, ability to explicitly compact the large object heap during garbage collection, additional performance improvements such as ASP.NET App suspension, multi-core JIT improvements, and faster app startup after a .NET Framework update, CLR 4.0 and Visual Studio 2013 has been introduced in 4.5.1 framework. In .NET Framework 4.5.2, CLR 4.0, new API for ASP.NET apps, resizing in Windows Form controls, new workflow feature, profiling improvements, debugging improvements, event tracing changes, promoting a transaction and converting to a durable enlistment has been upgraded in 4.5.2 of the .NET Framework. In .NET Framework 4.6, ASP.NET Core is introduced and task-based API for asynchronous response flushing, model binding supports task returning methods, HTTP by 2 support for token binding protocol, randomized string hash algorithms, 64-bit JIT compiler for managed code, assembly loader improvements, base class library changes, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, transaction, networking, CLR 4.0 and Visual Studio 2015 has been introduced. In .NET Framework 4.6.1, ADO.NET, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, Profiling, Engine, CLR 4.0 and Visual Studio 2017 has been introduced. In .NET Framework 4.6.2, ASP.NET, Character Categories, Cryptography, SQL Client, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, ClickOnce, converting Windows Forms and WPF apps to UWP apps, debugging improvements in ASP.NET, character categories, cryptography has been updated as well as introduced. In .NET Framework 4.7, base classes, networking, ASP.NET, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Forms, Windows Presentation Foundation has been upgraded with some of the latest new changes. In .NET Framework 4.7.1, base classes, common language runtime, networking, ASP.NET has been updated. In .NET Framework 4.7.2, base classes, ASP.NET, networking, SQL, WPF, and ClickOnce has been updated. In .NET Framework 4.8, base classes, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Presentation Foundation, and Common Language Runtime has been updated.